right, so we're here with Les and Jake and talking with Vinny.
Hello, I'm Vinny. I play drums, among other things.
And how's the tour been going?
Well, you know, the stuff has been going good. Warped Tour shows. We did a bunch of Warped Tour shows, which is good. We did a few off shows when we ended in Tulsa, and then we start back up today. So we did a few in between, which is really cool too.
You were just off of that Sky Against Racism.
You are absolutely correct.
So how many shows did they do?
We did 7 weeks.
7 weeks of that, yeah.
Yeah.
And none of it came up here, so...
Well, I mean, it was really rough because not a lot of the bands, you know, had work visas or had the ability to get work visas or anything like that. So it would have been weird, kind of weird.
It's a big pain in the ass if you're a band.
That's what I hear all the time.
It is. That's why it's hard to get. A lot of bands don't come through here.
Well, I tell you what we did. We snuck a bunch of merchandise through the border.
Well, not even purposely. I mean, purposely, but we had no choice at this point.
We have a bunch of cheap merchandise today.
It's usually, that's the usual.
Is that the reason?
Yeah, that's the big pain in the ass usually is trying to bring merch over.
Oh, yeah.
Like you either like bring it over and just claim it and get taxed up the wazoo, or you smuggle it in pretty much, or like say it's promo, like you bring a certain amount and say, oh, it's all going to be free. We're not selling any of this. But
Matt Caddy's got like 200 CDs ripped off.
whoa.
During the tour, some kid signed for it.
Oh, no way. Like got their shipment? Oh, what a screw job.
That is a screw job.
Yeah, they screwed for the tour, but they're getting some more. So, this is your first time in Toronto, actually, right?
First time in Toronto.
Yeah.
We've been around here, but never.
I really
had
like
to
it
stop
though,
here.
too, to be honest with you. Is Montreal's all right, you know, London's all right. But I'll tell you, man, Toronto, we went around town yesterday. We had a day off. It's fucking awesome. I mean,
Pretty cool city, yeah. Oh, that's a good looking men here, too.
as far as there's a couple good-looking men around here too. No. But as far as like Eastern Canada goes, it's pretty rocking, man. I mean, out of Canada, I like Vancouver and I like Toronto a lot.
Was it like a total different impression? Yeah.
Totally, because Montreal has a different feel to it altogether. Where this is
Dirtier, maybe. It's more like, yeah, no, Montreal is.
city. Montreal is more big city, even though it's really not.
Between San Francisco and New York. Totally.
So, are you guys planning to maybe do a tour?
We're gonna come back here in we start a tour in October and we're gonna be coming back here. It's gonna be us, all, Snuff, and one more band. We're not sure who it is yet, but it's in the works. So it's gonna be a fairly cheap show, but has a bunch of really, some of our favorite bands, to be honest with you.
So good. I already come true going on with the Descendants like a year ago, and then going on the Warped Tour with them too, and then just meeting those guys. Now we're going out with All and Snuff that we've plugged 7,000 times in interviews. That's like that was the reason that they added horns, especially to the three-piece. The little trombone in there with it. It's like they were originally just like a power pop band, like all this just like Frank kind of songs, and when they heard Snuff with a trombone in there every once in a while, they were like, that's pretty cool, and then the ska thing kind of creeped up there somehow.
So, like, what's the tour called, or what is it going to be?
I don't know. We're kicking around the name, but I don't know.
Nothing shtick yet.
Nothing shtick yet. But no, I mean, it's just a matter of if something comes up, cool. If not, we're just going out on tour.
Right. Here's a general question for you. What is your view on racism?
It's pretty obvious.
I'll tell you what's
last tour.
funny about it. It's like last tour. I mean, everyone knows we went on Sky Against Racism tour. That even likes our band, So I mean, that pretty much says what it's about anyway. But I mean, it's really weird. It's that a few days ago I heard some like disturbing news, and that was some of the kids that are involved in the ARA that came out to the Las Vegas show got murdered by some skinheads, and that's kind of whack. I don't understand that, man. I don't understand.
It's really easy. Racism equals ignorance. Go look up ignorance in the dictionary.
Fear, too. I think fear is basically fear.
I think fear could be
Change, man. It's fear of like the status quo.
arrogance.
God, man. I mean, I'll tell you a story real quick on racism, and then I won't be long-winded about it. But I grew up in New Jersey in an all right sized town. It was mostly predominantly Italian, and the racism there was amazing, man. I mean, but it's not a matter of I hate you because you're this color. It's a matter of we have our own section. We don't want any outsiders. It's not you're Vietnamese, right? It's not because you're Vietnamese that these people disliked you. Is that you were coming into their town. It was town, and it was more about it's fear of changing your environment that was about, and I don't understand why people are hung up on that, because it's like
that goes into economics too, though, because that's most of the reason that, as far as neighborhoods go and gentrification, it's because it's like, oh, you're bringing the neighborhood down. That's like the whole '50s mentality, and that hasn't left a lot of people.
That's really weird because here we have like the Greektown.
A lot of big cities always have like a Chinatown, and it's
divided into sections.
Is there a lot of racism here? Because everyone tells me that this is the most.
because everyone's sectioned off.
This is the most racially diverse city in North America.
Yeah, you only.
That's what I read. That there's more people that live here, of different nationalities than anywhere in North America. So it's amazing.
If you were to take the bus, just one bus, you'll see like just a whole group of different people.
The city, again, man, the city has a very, very cool vibe to it when we're walking around, I mean.
Do you know what section area?
We were in Chinatown. Yeah.
Down by Queen Street area.
It's really cool over there. I always like Chinatown. I'm into.
What's so weird about this is that a lot of I don't know what it is, but it's like, it's just that everyone's really nice here. Everyone's really nice in London, too.
More laid back down there, or that's what I hear all the time. It's like Canadians are laid back.
Well, it's not laid back. It's just that more personable, man. It's that we're in London, and everyone was super nice. All the kids in London, in our London show, were super nice, man. It just takes me aback.
I think a lot more people in Montreal too, if you're still doing the difference between the two, speak French too. That's part of the, there's a language barrier more so than I didn't really.
No, totally not. Yeah.
A couple times people were speaking French, but it's not as prevalent as in Montreal.
There's a lot of
Is that true, or from your experience?
It's pretty much.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of French too. I noticed from the times we've been there.
Get down to Quebec City, or
That's where we're going. This is the first time we're going to be there too on this tour. Yeah, there's lots of French there.
That city is super cool too. They're like really nice.
Yeah, it's laid back too. Is it a big city like?
No, you can walk right across the.
Oh, really? I didn't know it was that small.
Just walk right across.
What's the name of your zine again?
It's called Brew News. It's basically a webzine.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
So,
I mean, the web, bro, is the best, man. Well, it's a hell of a lot easier to do it on the web, man.
Yeah, you don't have any trouble with
Distro, it's hard, man.
Ripping off coffee shops.
Oh, yeah.
With any of that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I don't know. I've got like, really great feedback from the neighbors.
If you email us, we'll do a link from our page there.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. You guys have an album coming out?
October 6th. It's called Hello Rockview.
Just got done recording. That's what we did after the Scott Against Racism tour. We had, we were on tour for 7 weeks, had 1 day off, and then we were in the studio the entire time we were home, and then we left like a day later for this tour. So we've been pretty busy. But man, the ups and downs of recording, but man, everyone's totally stoked with it now. So
It's our best sounding recording. I mean, for real. I mean,
the songs are good too. I mean, we've taken the next step.
I've never been happy with all recordings. Losing streak, I wasn't very happy with the way it came out, but
All dated. It's so perfect. It's like you can see if you put everything. You start with our first 7-inch and work your way up. So everything is just you can see the times, and it's so cool. Like just going back and reliving it.
So do you think there's a difference between this album and the previous albums, the way you...
Yeah, there's definitely a difference, but there's still a continuity, of course. I mean, it's the same people writing the songs, so it sounds the same, but at the same time, it's a little more advanced songwriting-wise, and there's.
I think I like that a bit. When you went from album to album, things kind of
Change. It's got to change a little bit.
I'll tell you what it is. It's
like, oh my God, what are they doing? It's not like all rap now or something.
a little bit less, a little bit more pop punk, but a little bit more complex than just 3-chord punk rock. But it's just like we found that we had to we had to move away. We had to move away from the ska a little bit because there's so many different bands that are doing it we can't put out Losing Streak again.
It wasn't even a conscious decision. See, that's the thing, though. It's not even like it was a conscious decision. It's just
where we moved.
It's just where Chris and Raj started the way that they started writing. You know, they write the frame of the song.
Well, I mean, it was a conscious decision in the sense. I mean, Chris talked about it.
Well, right, but I mean, like that's kind of his zone anyway. You know what I mean? Like
You can't. The basic thing is you can't put Losing Streak out again because people would get bored of that. But we did. We put Pezcore was kind of Losing Streak-ish in a way.
Streak was a little bit different too, though.
A little bit. It's still the same genre, though. I mean, like for the most part.
I mean, I don't think it's changed that much, though, either. Like if you put it on, it's
Just a little bit more complex.
yeah. There's
You know,
a little more.
songwriting is a little bit.
We had a little more time too to put. Well, it was weird too because I didn't think we did, but the time that we put into it when we finally sat down and really like started working the songs, we had a bunch of shells when we went in this time and really worked over those shells a lot more than we have in the past, and things that we would have let slide before just got changed and it just made it better. Like we worked the songs longer so that they're like that closer to perfect. You know what I mean? I guess you know, more close to what we wanted them to be. You know, as opposed to like listening to it like a month later and going, ooh, we should have done this, we should have done that, which we're still gonna do, but we've grown.
Some of these titles are pretty cool, like Losers, Kings, and Things We Don't Understand, and Crash Course in Moving Ass.
Yeah, that's all Vinny's brainchild.
It's really weird. I have like three notebooks, and when I think of a song title, I put it in a notebook, you know, and little things set me off, and you know, different conversations and stuff set me off, and I, you know, write it down in a book, and I just kind of like gather up titles and things like that, so to speak. You know, it's just like some of the titles on a new record, you know, are funny. I mean, and if you read them,
Tell us what some of the titles are.
All My Best Friends Are Metalheads. Scott Farkas Takes It on the Chin. History of a Boring Town.
Theme song for H Street.
Yeah. I mean, Help Save the Youth of America from Exploding.
Do they like relate to the song at all, or just
Totally. You know,
And remote way, like it's ways that people might not connect. Like a lot of this, I've noticed that too about previous albums. It's like you read the title of the song, and if you have no idea what the song's about, even just the lyrics themselves are hard to interpret. There's like a general reading of the lyrics, and then there's the personal side that Vinny is you know, I get on every single song, so I know everything about it, you know. But to the layman, it wouldn't really, you know, the connection's not there for a lot of people.
the title shouldn't be, I mean, in my opinion, I mean, just from writing lyrics, is that it shouldn't be obvious. It shouldn't be a song called Betrayed and it'd be about betrayal.
The chorus is, I got betrayed.
You know, it's just that takes no like brain power. That you have to like, yeah, you need people to think about it. I mean, like Scott Farkas Takes It on the Chin, right? Scott Farkas is a bully in a movie called Christmas Story. Okay, with the Red Ryder BB gun with a compass and stock. It's a movie that's on all the time. So Scott Farkas takes it on the chin, meaning a bully, you know, gets it back, basically. And the song is about how the town where we live in is filled with people that, you know, used to, you know, take shots at us. But this song is about me taking a shot back at them. So it's basically, you know, Gainesville getting a shot by me, which is the bully getting punched with this Scott Farkas Takes It on the Chin. I mean, it's things like that all...
I have to admit, it's pretty damn, you know, complicated.
Yeah, I know, but if
I was to listen to the song, would I be able to figure that out?
If you knew the movie...
And you knew that would be, first you have to figure out what the song's about, and then you got to make the connection to where Scott Farkas came from. And people that make that connection, though, it's like it's awesome that someone, you know, if people can find their way back to that, then
And people can,
that's
people
cool.
do.
And the cool thing
Have
about it too
they,
is,
have they told you?
Yeah.
Have they told you?
Yeah.
and also it also leaves room though for separate interpretations, which is like I used to write poetry a lot. I've been kind of slack on that, but I used to do the same thing with my title. My titles would never be, you know, some line in a poem or, you know, or something like that. It's like, and like even just with the lyrics in the song, not just the titles, but just being able to leave room for someone else's separate interpretation is always good too, because
Even if it's...
that makes them think a little bit more. Even if their interpretation is totally different than yours, it's okay because
The thing that's cool about this record, though, the new record, is that there's when you read the lyrics to a lot of the songs, it's a story and it's a literal interpretation of the story. But what the best thing is that emotionally, people pick and choose their emotion on it. Do you know what I mean? Which I think is, really cool. I mean, because History of Boring Town is a story, but your emotional feedback from the reading of the lyrics could be one of three things, which is a totally different subject than actual literal interpretation of the actual lyrics.
Be the exact same story. Like, it doesn't have to be the same story. It can be your interpretation of those lyrics, which could be a totally different story. It could be their own personal experience, which, like I said, there's a general reading and an emotional, in-depth personal reading.
Yeah, so you leave it open, for some self-evaluation.
Leave ourselves wide open.
Okay. So
Hopefully not for a nut shot.
are you guys the only ska band on Capitol Records?
Yep.
Yeah.
So how much control do they have over you making an album?
They don't, really.
Zero.
Yeah.
I mean, they have their opinion, of course, and we take that just like we would anyone else's opinion, you know what I mean? But they actually have no legal control over, I mean, they have their sway, too. I mean, they have a little bit of power as far as, because we want them to be happy, too, but...
They don't try to produce it, the producer, or you guys do that yourself?
We picked our own producer.
Stuff. It's like we picked our own bullets, so to speak.
So
They're a tool.
what are some of the stuff that you guys hate about the business side of making music?
Red tape.
Phone calls.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like with a major label. I don't think that a major label really is any different than an indie in the sense that where it's funded, number one, is the difference. But it's, red tape is the most. Where on our indie labels, you have to talk to maybe 2 people. But with Capitol, it has to go through 20 to get things done, and that's the only downer side of actually being on Capitol, because they let us do what we want. I mean, they have they say, why don't you guys think about doing this, but it's ultimately up to us whether we actually do it or not.
There's ups and downs just like everything. We have more resources because of Capitol, like to do the things we want to do. Like if we were just on like some completely indie, like DIY punk rock label, and you're limiting yourself as far as like being able to do some of the things that we can do. But being able to do those things takes a lot longer than it would if you were just dealing with one person that you knew real well. It's like your best friend that runs the label. You get things done really quick, but you don't have as many resources, You just have to convince more people that what you want to do is the right thing, and then once you convince them, then we're scot-free.
That is true.
It's kind of weird because you hear like a lot of bands, like maybe pop bands or whatever, they kind of like get pushed into doing something that's
Well, that's
because I mean, in some cases it's true, but I mean, for our band, we were a band before Capitol with a working infrastructure, and then we began on Capitol, and so that infrastructure just kind of like we branch off into their deal. But it's like bands that don't have any draw at all, or not even a really
by major labels or MTV. Or at the conjunction of
they have no choice, because they can't go, well, fuck you, because we were doing it before and we were doing it right because we've had success. They can't do that because they didn't do it before, and they can't know if they have success or not about if they did it before.
They haven't done it on their own yet. That's the most important thing too, as far as band. We always plug what you should do if you're in a band. The usual answers are play as many shows as possible, go on as many tours as possible, and put out as much music as you can, like on all comps that anyone that asks you to be on a comp, get your music out there. But like another thing is, doing it by yourself for a while, doing it you don't. A lot of bands in the 80s, I guess, and wherever, like the big thing was, we got to get on a major label. That was their big goal as a band, was to get on a major label, because then all your problems are solved. That's not how it is. You got to learn how to do it yourself, and then grow as a band first before you do anything as drastic as getting on a major label.
You can, compare to, third world countries getting fed by foreign aid, or actually growing food so they're self-sustaining.
Instead of relying on someone else to do it for you from the start, you have to learn how to do it yourself first. And I think that's what's been good about our band too, is that we we had been a band by ourselves for a long time before we got on Capitol, but even since we've been on Capitol, we've grown instead of as soon as we got on Capitol, there was this huge video and then we had this huge success and we were in this realm that we weren't ready for. It's like we've still just been taking gradual steps always. It's my snowball theory, is that it started out as a little teeny speck of snow, and we've gradually just been getting bigger and bigger, and that's the best way to do it, because you're never out of your element that way with the business side of things, or just the playing in front of that many people, or just the music, just any of it, or recording processes, like everything that we've recorded. Like I was saying before, the other interview, or maybe that was when I was talking to you, like if you listen to the first 7-inch and go through, like the recording level has gotten better as we went along, and you just learn more as you go along as a band, and don't let someone else do it for you, you know?
So it's better to start off just doing the DIY thing and then.
Yeah, and to keep that ethic and that mindset, the
And
whole
just branch upon. Keep it the do-yourself vibe, but then branch off that vibe to include other people and other things.
That was our hardest step, was getting to the point where we were able to let someone else into our shell. We had a nice little wall created around us so that no one else could get in and fuck things up. And then the more fingers that started coming in, we were a little paranoid. But I mean, that's natural. It's good to be paranoid, to a certain degree. But then you have to let other people help you too if you want to get to that next step. You just keep, and our biggest goal is to just have as many people in the world hear our music as possible. That's the only reason to be in a band, Otherwise, you can just sit at home and play music, and I mean, I'm going to get the same feeling. If I sat at home and I just went out to the warehouse and played with these guys, I'd feel the same as I do when I'm on stage playing to 10,000 people. But when you're sitting out there and you look at 10,000 people and 5 of them are singing your words and they know your songs, and it's like, that's the most amazing feeling, to be able to transfer that energy and that feeling that I have to someone else, even if it's like 10% of what I'm feeling while I'm playing. If I see that in someone's eyes, I'm like, yes. And so that's the only reason to be in a band, is to get to the point where that many people are hearing you. If you get the whole world, you got the whole world in your hand. It's awesome.
You kind of covered one question here. Which bands out there that you kind of listen to and are totally blown away?
Descendants.
Descendants.
Off Ivy, Snuff, Miles Davis.
Do you listen to stuff outside of Scott Boston?
Totally,
Oh, yeah.
everyone does, man.
Chris grew up on 80s metal to the T. That's why he's like he is. I mean, he loves that shit like no one's business. All the W bands, Warrant, White Lion, Wingers.
See him later today, dressed metal, full spandex, big ass wig and stuff when he comes out. I mean, it's just the way, I don't know, man. It's that everyone's differences in musical taste is what makes our band our band.
It's all changed too as time went along. Like, Chris listens to that one. He listens to all kinds of stuff now too, like all the punk. But in his formative years, in high school or whatever, and Roger went all through high school smoking pot, listening to Metallica and playing their songs on his guitar. That's how he learned how to play guitar. It was Iron Maiden and Metallica. And it's like I listened to Depeche Mode when I was in high school. It's like.
Through that new wave phase.
Right. I mean, I can still go back and listen to all that. I listen to everything that I used to listen to, and then plus everything else that I've just heard. I listen to a lot of that Chicago type, ambient type music too, and weird. I run the gamut. Classical music.
I've heard from some bands, young kids, and their influences like ragtime. How would you figure that out?
I love Louis Armstrong, dude. He's so good.
Inspiration comes in the weirdest points, man. You never know when it's gonna hit, man, and you don't have that choice, though. Really, man. I mean, it's just what hits you the hardest. It could be ragtime, it could be classical, and there's cats who play in punk rock bands that all they listen to is Miles Davis and fucking Balloon Note, man. And you go, how does that, work? But it totally does, man, because you don't pick what hits you, man. It that picks you, you know what I mean? It's an oddity, but that's what makes music the coolest, man. I mean, because it hits everyone in a different way.
Yeah, it's like any emotion. You can't. It's out of your control to a certain degree. It's like certain things make you feel a certain way, and you can't help that. And that's what's awesome about music. And that's why I was saying before, when we're the catalyst for that emotion. When we're up on stage and we're playing, and I see people in the crowd, and I know that that's what's going on in their stomach or whatever. That's moving right back. It's like when I get that, it feeds off each other too, and that's the best part. That's why it sucks that barricades 15 feet away from you. It tends to halt that energy. Right. In Montreal and stuff. It's good stuff.
Here's some interesting questions. If you guys weren't musicians, what would you be doing right now?
What?
If we weren't musicians. Wondering why I wasn't a musician.
I don't know. I don't really know. I'd be teaching probably high school. Probably a graphic artist. Still running a label though too. I'd run a label.
Yeah.
For sure.
I'd be
Yeah.
doing whatever made me feel like this. That's why I'm doing this. You know.
It could be anything, man. Again, you don't pick, man. It's just like.
You don't pay, like when this ends and I'm not doing this, I'll figure that out. Like whatever it is that is making me go, God damn, I really want to do that. And that's what I'm going to do. Like right now I have a bachelor's degree in psychology, but I can't picture myself being a
I have a
high school counselor or something right now.
degree in biology.
And you don't know what you're going to do with it.
I'm going in the opposite direction as that.
He graduated bachelor's and are you going to get a master's or you're just like going into journalism? What's going on here?
I don't know. I kind of look into the graphic art stuff, so it's good. I went into that.
Got the web page thing happening.
Yeah,
You do like computer graphics. You do
Yeah,
stuff on.
designing myself, and it's pretty cool because it's like the only scene that kind of looks like, I don't know, a heckler or something like that. So I put more effort into the visual side of it,
Mm-hmm.
because like some scenes you just get the black and white
Text. Yeah. You want the eye candy.
Basically,
Good stuff,
I think
man.
it does stuff for the interview itself.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Totally. It gives an impression, man. I mean.
It's like anything. Like if you're learning to be a teacher, you learn that that's the best way to teach too, is to not just give one for the different senses. You want to get audio, visual, taste if possible. That's the best way to learn, is to get more than one sense involved, and then you get, because you have an image to remember, you have words to remember, and you have.
That's it, because it's like
You don't just have one thing to rely on,
Yeah, it's
like you do with text. It's really hard to. It's hard to keep people's interest with just text too, because a lot of people,
that's what I
especially in today's MTV age, it's like people's attention span is slim to none, if that.
Yeah.